Welcome, listeners of WHFB AM 1060 and WIMS AM 1420, as we launch another edition of the Green Radio Network. Here on the Green Radio Network, we'll bring you a variety of green topics and the latest information on green technology and transportation. This program features environmental leaders throughout northern Indiana and the entire nation. The Green Radio Network is sponsored by NERPC, the Northwestern Indiana Regional Planning Commission, and the award-winning South Shore Clean Cities. Both entities are leaders in the environmental industry and work together to bring cleaner air and more sustainable living to northern Indiana. Now to introduce Carl Lisek, Executive Director of South Shore Clean Cities and the host of the show.
Well, good morning and welcome to the Green Radio Network. Today our guest is Mr. John Davies. He's the Assistant Director of the Lamkin Innovation and Entrepreneurship Center for Excellence and Managing Director of the Society of Innovators of Northwest Indiana at Ivy Tech. John, welcome to the show.
And, well, I'm delighted to be here, and that's a long title, isn't it?
It is a long title.
Well, I'm just so pleased to be a part of a good news stream, a green news stream, really, about the great things going on in Northwest Indiana and Indiana. So thank you for asking me, Carl.
Well, and again, John, I've known you for many years. It's always a pleasure. You are one of what I would consider our leaders of Indiana, and it's always great to find all the great things that are going on in our state. And I know that all these great things that are going on, John Davies and Omariel Boucher has something to do with it.
Well, thank you for that. Omariel, of course, wanted to be here, but was unable in the last minute to join us. She's the director of the Gerald I. Lamkin Innovation and Entrepreneurship Center. I serve to support her, but my primary role is as founding managing director of the Society of Innovators of Northwest Indiana.
So let's talk about what is the Lamkin Center and what is the Society of Innovators, John?
Well, the Lamkin Center is a gateway for lifelong learning, lifelong innovation, and lifelong leadership. It was established in 2006. Mm-hmm. Its roots go back to 2005 when the Society of Innovators was launched by Ivy Tech. And its purpose, it has many responsibilities, but its singular purpose is to encourage student, staff, faculty, mm-hmm. and the larger community to think differently. If you think differently in a global economy, you're going to act differently. And if you act differently, you're going to innovate because you see things differently. We saw thinking differently as a bridge to innovation. Mm-hmm. And innovation, of course, is part of our DNA.
It sure is.
And you're innovative, Carl. And South Shore Clean Cities is a proud member of the Society of Innovators. You were inducted in 2013. And as I recall, you had this huge drop in emissions that resulted in a national award being given to South Shore Clean Cities, and congratulations on that.
Well, no, thank you. And it wasn't me. It wasn't us. It was again working just like you do with all these different organizations and businesses here in northern Indiana that have allowed us to really be kind of the leader in tracking some of those emissions and getting the recognition from the Department of Energy. So we accepted that award on behalf of so many people, John. And again, I think one of the things that we've talked about in the past is like, a lot of times we really don't get a lot of credit, we being Northern Indiana, on innovation, on green, on these different things. And again, I think, with the things that you are doing here with Ivy Tech, I think this is one of the things that I'd love to see, is that the recognition for so many different innovative things that have happened in Northern Indiana and the state of Indiana and the United States has just been incredible. So, let's talk a little bit about Ivy Tech. Why did they decide to sponsor the Society of Innovators?
Ivy Tech serves the community in many different ways. And Ivy Tech recognized that there was a lot of emphasis on entrepreneurship. And we all know the power of entrepreneurship and small business. But no institution of higher learning was focusing on the tool the entrepreneur uses, and that is innovation. Thinking in it differently, solving problems in a new way. So they saw this opportunity and launched the Society of Innovators in 2005. And to my knowledge, it is the only organized effort on a regional basis sponsored by any community college in these United States. And Ivy Tech has been the sponsor of the Society of Innovators through the Lamkin I&E Center since 2005.
Wow.
And I'm very, very proud of Ivy Tech for becoming, in effect, the poster child for saying that, yes, all matter of elements in a successful business are needed, but it is critical to be innovative, to think differently, to solve problems in a new way. And since 2005, the Society of Innovators has inducted over 300 members. And we have two categories of members. We have individuals and we have teams. But collectively, Carl, over the course of those, now we're in our 13th year, we have recognized 1,625 individuals who are either standalone or they're startups or they're entrepreneurs or they are members of teams. We're talking about the 7 counties of Northwest Indiana.
Why don't you talk about those counties a little bit so people understand what all the counties are?
Well, we traditionally think of Lake, Porter, and LaPorte.
Okay.
But the Society of Innovators serves all 7 counties. And if I try to say them, I may miss one, but I will try. Jasper, Lake, LaPorte, Porter, Newton, Pulaski, and Stark counties. So we have members across those 7 counties. And our focus is to recognize and honor, discover these innovative individuals and teams, the most innovative individuals and teams in Northwest Indiana. The last time we saw you was a few days ago. You came to our call for nominations, our 13th call for nominations.
Amazing. Yeah.
And we were so proud to have you there. And our keynoter was Mayor Joe Stahura, who was updating us on the National Mascot Museum, which is an amazing place where furry and fun mascots will be celebrated. But that's just the tip of all of the things going on in the city of Whiting and in Northwest Indiana.
Absolutely.
And it's a transformed environment. Do we need more innovation? Absolutely. But we have among our members the most sophisticated scientists in steelmaking on the planet, all the way from science to at least one great-grandmother who took 19 years to get her invention, a marinating tool, Mary's marinating stick, in a big box store. So what we look for is someone has an ingenious idea. Now that idea may not be something totally new. It could be an existing idea, but it's used in a new way. And not only has the idea, Carl, but implements the idea. And the result is benefits for Northwest Indiana, the nation, and the world.
Absolutely. And John, it's always so engaging to hear you speak about all these innovations. And so can you talk a little bit about some of the innovations that were honored in the society, like in Michigan City and LaPorte County?
Well, today, after this interview, I'm going to Lake Hills Elementary School.
Okay.
And that is Indiana's, located in Michigan City, first all-STEM public school.
Wow. Okay.
And every year, this school conducts all manner of cutting-edge activities in innovation. For example, we're going to witness robotics. We're talking about elementary.
That's amazing.
Elementary school students. And this is a magnet school, so we have students from attending Lake Hills. They come from all across Michigan City. But I'm looking at our newest edition, and I'm going to leave it with you, of Innovators of the Month. And each month, and your listeners would be interested, each month we highlight the activities of our new members. And again, another first for Indiana, a place called Art Space. Art Space in Michigan City was a hulking Goliath, an empty building, but through a collective activity led by the mayor and Rich Murphy and many others, including artists, that's been turned into the first work-live space for artists in Indiana.
It's amazing.
And that Warren Building, the 1908 Warren Building, now is serving a new generation of people. So that beloved building that was falling into disrepair over 3 decades now has new vibrancy. So that's another example of innovation. A little bit down the road is a company called Dwyer.
Sure.
My guess is that many people have not heard about Dwyer. But Dwyer has over 300 patents, and they are engaged in cutting-edge problem-solving activities, such as when you build a building and you install heating and ventilation equipment. They've created a revolutionary new tool that accelerates the balancing of all these vents in buildings. And that's the important thing. When you are thinking about becoming an innovator, where do you start? I'll tell you where you start. You start with your pain points. Where are the problems that need to be solved? How can you make it better for your customer? And Dwyer follows this mantra, and as I said, has been a forerunner in innovation in the world.
It's amazing. I'm just, like I say, we just appreciate having you on the show. Please stick around. You're listening to the Green Radio Network here on AM 1420 WIMS Radio and AM 1060 WHFB. I'm your host, Carl Lisek. We'll be right back with Mr. John Davies with the Lamkin Innovation and Entrepreneurship Center for Excellence and the Society of Innovators at Ivy Tech right after this. You're listening to the Green Radio Network on AM 1420 WIMS Radio and AM 1060 WHFB. This is Carl Lisek. We'll be right back after this message.
There's nothing more important than spending time outdoors with your family. That's why it's so important to do whatever you can to keep our air clean. It's good for the environment and good for the health of your friends and family. Take a closer look at how poor quality is affecting our community. Across the 3 counties of Northwest Indiana, recent studies from the American Lung Association show that 9% of adults suffer from asthma, 4% live with chronic bronchitis, 38% have a form of cardiovascular disease, and 10% of the children in Lake and LaPorte counties struggle with pediatric asthma. Now, the number of adults with asthma is nearly that of adults with diabetes. Consider how diabetics make adjustments to their diet in order to be as healthy as possible. Everyone can make adjustments to improve air quality and the quality of life for those who live with asthma and other lung diseases. Northwest Indiana, clean air, think green, breathe easy. A message from NERPC.
Thank you again for joining us on AM 1420 WIMS Radio and AM 1060 WHFB on this edition of the Green Radio Network. Well, welcome back to the Green Radio Network here on AM 1420 WIMS Radio and AM 1060 WHFB. I'm Carl Lisek of South Shore Clean Cities, here to bring you the latest information on green projects and topics across the nation. Again, our guest today is Mr. John Davies. He is the Assistant Director of the Lamkin Innovation and Entrepreneurship Center for Excellence and Managing Director of the Society of Innovators of Northwest Indiana at Ivy Tech. John, again, we're just talking about some of the great things with innovation. And so as you talk a little bit about Ivy Tech, I know Ivy Tech has signed a pledge with the National Association of Community College Entrepreneurship. So why is this important to Northwest Indiana?
Well, since 2005, innovation and entrepreneurship have been part of our brand, our names, and we are hugely proud that we have inducted over 300 members, individuals and teams across the 7 counties of Northwest Indiana. The pledge was with this association that is a leading voice for entrepreneurship in the United States. And our commitment is not only to discover and encourage and educate innovators, but also to encourage entrepreneurs. So we signed an entrepreneurial pledge.
I see.
And there's something like 300 community colleges across the United States that have signed that pledge. So our emphasis is going to be not just on entrepreneurship, but to encourage entrepreneurs to think innovatively.
Sure.
In other words, when you're thinking of an idea, ensure that it's a meaningfully unique idea, so that you are following Drucker's advice of using innovation as a tool to be more competitive. This emphasis on innovation is about making Northwest Indiana more competitive in a global economy.
Absolutely. And, I know the society, if it's part of Ivy Tech, how does the society relate to the community and the region?
Well, we relate in a number of ways. The call for nominations that we did, that you attended on May 4th, exemplified that, where we invited the leaders and the community to join with us. Excuse me. But in addition to that, we have a board of governors representing members of the society, but also people who are not members of the society, but who are leaders. And these governors help us stay close to the community. Also, we have partners. We call them principal partners. And our principal partners provide benefits to Northwest Indiana, to the Society of Innovators, that keep us connected to our community. And I think the other way that we connect to the community is that we are discovering innovative people and innovative teams across the seven counties.
Absolutely. And, I know that, at the press conference that was held earlier this month, you issued your 13th call for nominations. Talk a little bit about that. I know that there was an announcement about the new website that Ivy Tech came up with. And then let's talk a little bit how people can make nominations for innovation.
Every year we go to the community and the 7 counties of Northwest Indiana, and we issue a call for nominations. And we invite people to make those nominations on a website, www.nwisoi.org. And when you click on the homepage At the top right, you will see of the homepage, you'll see the word nominate. You click on that, and that will take you to making nominations. You can make either an individual nomination or a team nomination. It's very simple to do. It'll take you just a few minutes. But we encourage people to do this. Why? We want to discover the hidden innovators who are making Northwest Indiana tick. These are the individuals who often are not getting recognition, who are ingenious. We call it the spark of genius. And these individuals are able to come up with solutions. Remember I mentioned the pain points?
Right.
Solutions to problems to make Northwest Indiana and put Northwest Indiana on the map. I'll just mention a couple. Scott Albanese,
Sure,
of Albanese Candy. He's launched a major multi-million dollar manufacturing project. That wasn't why he was inducted. He was inducted because he spent 2 years searching for the formula that would create a full flavor, the world's only full flavor gummy.
Wow.
That's why he was inducted into the Society of Innovators. ArcelorMittal, the world's largest steel company, they have an R&D center in East Chicago, and they are constantly inventing and creating. Now they're working on third generation steels to keep steel in cars and in use, so that the steel industry, and particularly ArcelorMittal, remains vibrant and robust.
Absolutely.
Here in Northwest Indiana.
Sure, a lot with the light weighting of, it
That's
helps
right.
with emissions and it helps with fuel economy. So, I mean, it's just very good. So, I mean, you talk a lot about, John, about nominations and things. So anybody can be nominated, correct?
In fact, our mantra is anyone can be an innovator. If you look at the nominations over the years, there are basically 3 categories. The first category is called sustaining, and that is taking an existing idea, tweaking it, using it in a new way. An example is aspirin that has been used for headaches is now used for heart.
Sure.
So we have many of our members will take an existing idea and use it in a new way, and they're innovative. If they do it the first time, they're going to be inducted. The second category involves new innovation, often associated with a patent. It's a new idea.
Sure.
And then the third innovation is quite rare. It's game changing. I only know of one instance of this in Northwest Indiana. His name was Ralph Braun, and he was in a wheelchair. And he wanted to get to work, and his company had moved, so he bought a used Jeep that had a high ceiling. And he remembered as a boy seeing a farmer drive a pickup truck, and that pickup truck had a lift. And usually the farmer put oil on it, went up and down, up and down. And Mr. Braun said, you know what? I bet I could install a lift in my Jeep, get on that lift, and that would get me into my vehicle. He was able to get in. He couldn't shut the door, but he launched a revolution. Braunability is now sold on 7 continents.
Yes.
And people in wheelchairs are able to drive and get in and use these lifts because of one man's ingenuity.
That's amazing.
And it stands as he was inducted as a change agent by the White House. But most of the innovations are solving problems that may not involve a totally new idea, but will take an existing idea and make it better.
John, you talk about, I'm just intrigued listening. You talk about all these different innovators, but why is it important to have the Society of Innovators, in your opinion?
I think that the Society of Innovators can take great pride that it was the first organizational call for the importance of recognizing innovation. Now everybody talks about innovation, and we're very proud of that. But if we're going to continue to progress, we are going to have to continue to do new and different things. And our definition is thinking creatively and developing ideas that provide solutions, add value, and are implemented as new products or processes or ways of thinking, social initiatives. Innovations transform lives. And the Society of Innovators, since the very beginning, has been calling, no matter when we were laughed at, when we were told this is important, we said this is important. Innovation is vital. And we want to encourage not just startups and entrepreneurs to be innovative, we want to encourage established companies to be innovative. And so when you think about Northwest Indiana, we want you to think about Tide. We want you to think about Monosol. And that company is based here, and it creates products for Tide and Cascade. We want you to think about Julie Rizzo. And Julie saw treasure in junk granite. And now she is responsible for setting up a network of recycling of granite all across North America. And I could go on with these amazing stories of people who've changed the world. How? By thinking creatively and innovating with a new or different idea.
You know, we're coming to the end of our show. I know I wanted to talk a little bit about, you just recently held an all-members meeting. Talk about that. Why was that important?
For the first time in the 12 years, we invited the members of the Society of Innovators. We wanted to unleash the power of that amazing, could you imagine these 1,625 individuals? They represent a brain trust.
Absolutely.
And we want to unleash their power not only to help their own organizations, but to help Northwest Indiana. We want Northwest Indiana, Carl, to be known in the world as a community that values creativity and innovation.
And when you do, and we do. And again, I think it's just so intriguing and exciting to hear all these great innovations and the great things that are going on right in our backyard, John.
And remember, make your nomination by going to www.nwisoi.org. And if people want to talk to me,
absolutely,
call 219-981-1111, extension 2292.
Hey, John, you know, I know one of the comments that was made, bless you, at the press conference was the updated website and how this tool is being basically a depository for all the great things that are going on. Can you talk a little bit about that, as how this is going to be used to kind of educate and be kind of with all these different organizations, how people can use this to talk about events that they've got coming up or innovation that they've, and you know, using your website really kind of as a, let's call it as an informational center to talk about all the great things that are going on with these organizations.
You know, we're very proud of the Society of Innovators, but all of us, no matter what is our sector, all of us need to do better. And at that all members meeting, we wanted to find out their ideas to move Northwest Indiana further, and how could the society help them in their own goals. So one of the things we have done is reinvent our website, which is donated by SMDG LLC, social media company, one of our principal partners. And the website has wonderful information about innovation, but it also has a list of all of our members. So people who want to know what are people doing can find out helpful information. And also there will be a portal for members that they can go on and list their events and find out also what's going on.
That's wonderful. John, one last question. what is going to be John Davies' legacy? What do you want your legacy to be?
Well, I've always been a helper, Carl.
You have.
And I truly believe that it's not enough for a leader to just be successful. I think a leader has to build for the next generation. And I hope the Society of Innovators will continue many, many years to come, because innovation has to be part of our present and our future.
Very well said. Congratulations on all the great work that you are doing. Thank you for all the great work that you're doing.
And O'Muriel, the
O'Muriel,
director,
but
please.
I'm just saying, with the innovation, it's just amazing. And again, folks, get your nominations in. If you have any questions, please call O'Muriel, call John. They'd be happy to help. But this is about us. This is about the future of Northwest Indiana. And it's a great way to get recognized for all the wonderful things that you're doing. And that will do it for today's edition of the Green Radio Network. I'm your host, Carl Lisek. Thanks again to our guest, Mr. John Davies with the Lamkin Innovation and Entrepreneurship Center for Excellence and the Society of Innovators, both of which are located at Ivy Tech. And be sure to join us again on AM 1420 WIMS Radio and AM 1060 WHFB for the next edition of the Green Radio Network. And visit us online at SouthShoreCleanCities.org. Thank you.